What is one country that you will never visit again? Part 1. Egypt, as many downthread said. Cairo looks like a war zone. Turrets on street corners, tanks, soldiers with automatic weapons everywhere. We had an armed police officer on the tour bus, Rhodes Scholar, and nothing against them, they are a great company to travel with, a police escort everywhere, bomb dogs, and a guy with a mirror looking under the bus for bombs. Cairo is dirty, littered, and the poverty is staggering. The food was meh at best, as we could not travel outside the hotel or tour path to eat. It was blisteringly hot. The camel guys at the pyramids were mean to all of the women and the animals, with children working there as well. The Egyptian Museum was a disgrace to the country. Poorly organized, bad labels, no security, priceless textiles, parchments, leather, etc. jumbled in cases exposed to the air, heat, hands. No AC. The only things well cared for and secured were Tutankhamun's artifacts. It's a spectacular resource and collection and so badly cared for with no curation. The new one just opened, I sure hope it's better. Once you've seen one temple, one hieroglyphic, you've truly seen them all. It's all about tourist dollars and the street vendors were relentless and scary. Even on a nice open boat ride down the Nile, kids paddled up to the boat on wooden doors, selling cheap crap or just begging. Never again. Egypt. I visited Sharm el-Sheikh back in 2015. The hotel area was amazing, I vaguely remember it being called the Baron, and you felt like a king there. But that was it. As soon as you leave the hotel area, you feel like you're in a war zone. Trash everywhere, barely laid roads. Nothing to go look at outside of the hotel, apart from stuff they sold to you as a day trip, snorkeling, camel riding, going out in the desert with a quad bike. It did not feel right to be there. Every time I went to buy water in a shop, the price would go up each day. They would tell you a price, many times 2 or 3 times the price you paid the day before and you need to haggle them down. I ended up saying that I'd pay a certain amount and not more. When they said no, I'd leave the shop and they'd come chasing after me, saying okay, we can do. It was stressful to be there. If I wanted to enjoy myself, I'd stick to my hotel room, the pool or the beach and ignore the people trying to sell me stuff on the beach. I was the only one in the group of 5 people who didn't enjoy it. But I don't see the joy in having to haggle my way through the day and having seen everything after the second day.
Egypt. But more specifically, Cairo. The way they treat women, and their own people is honestly heartbreaking and disgusting. I have never wanted to be out of a country so fast in my life. A friend of mine was groped on the bus and a fellow student told her that is what you get for not riding the all-female bus. I never felt safe, and I constantly felt sorry for almost everything I saw. The poor. The animals. The women. It honestly was devastating. I've gotten some comments or messages about, depends where you go and where you stay, or rape is just as high there as it is in other countries. I'm a female that was traveling with my good friend who was a local from Mahdi. I wore pants and conservative clothing to respect the culture. We even had a driver and male Egyptian friends escorting us and still had issues. They told us to never be without an escort. Ever. Yes, Alex and Dahab are beautiful. But the experience as women doesn't change drastically from Cairo. The country is rich in history and has some great diving. But the behavior from many males and the infrastructure is bad. If you're interested in learning something new, look up Garbage City in Cairo. That should give you an idea of some of the poverty levels happening there.
Going to go with the crowd here and agree that I wouldn't go to Egypt again. I absolutely love ancient Egypt, but I still wouldn't go back. I went when I was 15 as part of a school trip. Imagine 25 high school students and 4 chaperones, none of whom speak the language, with one guide, dedicated to taking us on our entire 11-day trip. There was definitely the bartering talk for some of the girls in the group, which we were told were just jokes and compliments from the locals. There were cons. One student got on a camel at the pyramids for X amount, but once he was up there the guide wouldn't let him down until he paid twice that. Camels are freaking tall. So, it's not like he could easily or safely climb or jump down. There were groups of kids in a lot of the markets who would offer beads or other small bits of touristy crap for free. Somehow several of the people in my group who took those beads ended up losing their wallets in the same market. That's a real head scratcher. Cairo itself was unfortunately disgusting. The streets and canals are filled with trash, and not just normal city trash, there was more than one beast of burden left in a ditch to rot. We were told not to drink the water. Even for brushing our teeth, we were told to use bottled water. And to use hand sanitizer after washing our hands. On the trains, the bathrooms don't go to a holding tank, they just open to the track below, which reminds me of a scene from one of the Mummy movies now that I think of it.
On a personal note, when we were at the Sphinx, I got separated from the rest of my group, a 15-year-old girl alone in a country where I didn't speak the language. My group had moved ahead in line, they ended up being several hundred meters ahead. I got a bit scared because I searched and couldn't find anyone, and so I approached an armed guard, appeared to be a security type. I had seen them at several other historic monuments too, and asked if he could help get me to my group. On the way to my group, he groped me. I was absolutely shocked. This was in broad daylight, amid a crowd of other people. Mind, they weren't looking at us, they were looking at the ancient piles of rocks. Not to mention, he had a fairly large gun, so that added to the intimidation factor. But I just let it happen because he was at least taking me in the direction I knew my group was. The first person from my group I saw was my, at the time, ex, and I had never ever been so glad to see him in my life. I still love the history of Egypt. But I don't think I'll ever actually go back.
Egypt for sure. I was visiting the pyramids and this girl in front of me almost got raped. Just a bunch of men surrounded her once our guides were at a minimal away distance. Ended up fighting them off with the help of several tourists. She was with a friend, also a woman, and I ended up spending my whole time with them for the next 4 days. Really enjoyed my time with them, but holy shit, going out in public was just me doing bodyguard work, which I was not comfortable with it, but what choice did I have? Terrible place for women, disgusting smell, terrible people overall, food sucked too, but I'm sure that's highly subjective. Egypt. Nice place, some great things to see, but the street vendors are just horrible bastards. They pounce on you, as soon as you get off the coach, trying to put shit on you. Some fucker literally tried to take the wallet out of my shorts pocket, not pickpocketing, brazen with me, stood looking at him. I lost my shit at this point and was quickly surrounded by about 10 others. I fancied my chances, to be honest, but not worth getting stabbed or getting locked up in a shithole jail.
As an Egyptian woman, I want to say, firstly, I am 10,000% sorry for every human being victimized by someone in Egypt. On behalf of Egyptian women everywhere, thank you for sharing your stories. Your stories are our stories. These things happen to us all. Time. But the women here are numb to it or condemned for speaking up. We try to communicate with the outside world on the issue of women's right, rape culture, sexual harassment, but with the spoken and written language barrier, it makes it very difficult to get our stories out. Egypt needs this rude awakening. Tourism will suffer, and they cannot afford to have that happen. We need to take responsibility and make some serious changes. Edit. I'm choosing to no longer respond to comments, because I have had some strange encounters from a few. I am aware that this post has been reposted directly on Egyptian tourism channels, and I am now receiving a ton of comments questioning me on personal matters, my location, my travel, my education, my family, as well as questioning the validity of my experiences. Everyone is within their right to ask whatever question they may have, but I fear that perhaps this might be a ploy to get pieces of information about me and my family to find my identity. For this, I am feeling an overwhelming fear. So, I will stop commenting from now, but I will continue to read.
For those not living in Egypt, I very much want to thank everyone for your kind words and support. I mostly write on these forums because I am able to express myself openly and honestly in a way that I've never experienced before, and it is very therapeutic. Thank you for giving me the space to do that. For the Egyptians that have commented, many of you are so understanding, humble and kind. You welcome my intense commentary and show me absolutely love and care. This gives me hope because I know the good that is Egyptian people. I want the world to see this too. We have to stand for what's wrong, and act with our moral compass first. May God help Egypt and its people. Haiti. When and did medical relief in a field hospital after the earthquake. Recent stuff aside, that country is, and has been fucked. Poor infrastructure, poor education, no significant industries, no natural resource advantage, corrupt government, polarized political climate, island nation, so all imports are more expensive, poor medical system. Anything a country would need to get a leg up is just non-existent. I'm a pretty positive person, and met the loveliest people there, but I've never been more depressed or pessimistic about a place's future. Haiti. Went on a medical mission. One day was spent at the beach. We got caught in the middle of a protest. I was groped, several other people were punched. It was terrifying. They only stopped when one of our translators yelled that we were medical workers. We only ended up spending 1 hour at the beach, so we wouldn't end up driving back through the same area at night. When we reached that area, it was clear of people. A few overturned vehicles were on fire. A UN detail was hanging out in a big armored vehicle with a very large gun on top. I can't imagine how awful it must be now, with all of the civil unrest. Haiti. I went there as one of the stops on a cruise ship, including Jamaica, Mexico, and another stop which I forgot. Haiti's stop was an all-you-can-eat excursion on the beach. Sounded nice, until we got there, and the townspeople were separated from us by a fence, begging for food. As an innocent 16-year-old at the time, I went to the fence with food to give them and I was presented with a gun pointed at me by the National Guardsman. I don't know if it was army, police, etc., but I'm just calling it National Guardsman, but the gun pointed and screamed at me like a sergeant to get away from the fence. I put all the food down on the table and my family and I went back on the cruise ship. Who can eat in front of people begging you for food? Haiti. It was 2008 and I was around 10 years old. I was coerced into coming. My mother promised me resorts, water parks, and lots of fun time with family. None of that came to pass. What I got in Haiti was a double dose of humility, with a side order of gratitude. I was born into poverty in Brooklyn, New York. But going to Haiti gave me a new reference point for poverty. I realized my poverty in East New York was considered a luxury in Haiti.
I experienced tremendous racism, with many people disliking me just because of my pale skin. I also experienced a lot of kidnap attempts. A guy tried to kidnap me at a beach and my entire family got involved. It was horrible. I slept on the floor, and the leftovers were a delicacy. When I got back, I was extremely grateful to have been born in the US, and even though I was still poor, I had a sense of appreciation that I wasn't born into that extreme level of poverty. It was an eye-opener for sure. I pray for my Haitian brothers and sisters. I was there for 90 days and suffered. Imagine an entire life.
Syria. I went before the Civil War and it was honestly one of the loveliest places I've ever been, with super nice friendly people. Add to that the food is amazing. It would break my heart to see some of the places now. At the rate it's going, South Africa. Backpacked around in 2009, from Cape Town to Johannesburg, and just loved it. Legit, my favorite country I traveled in, because it is so diverse in nature, people, just about every way. But as things get more dangerous, I'm just not sure if I'll ever get back there. Seeing footage of the riots right now breaks my heart. If anyone from South Africa is reading this, by the way, I wish you all the best and hope you stay safe. Jamaica. Went for a chill vacation with my college girlfriend and were very turned off by being asked if we wanted to buy weed every 20 steps. Despite popular misconceptions, weed was quite illegal in Jamaica at the time. I smoked at home in the US occasionally but wasn't into this trip and didn't want to risk getting arrested in a foreign country. 3 days in and they're wearing us down, so we consider buying a joint. That same day, a tour guide on our river tour warns us without prompting that dudes will sell you weed and then cross the street to tell the cops, for an informant fee, that you've got weed, after which you get tossed in Jamaican jail and have to bribe your way out. Also, the food was meh. Jamaica. Everyone thinks that you owe them a tip for something or runs up and puts a necklace on your spouse and expects money immediately. Unless you're just into getting pumped for money by locals and worrying about being robbed, don't go there. Afghanistan. I would love to go back and be a tourist, but I don't think I will ever have the opportunity, nor would it be responsible now that I have a family to vacation there. The country is absolutely beautiful, and the weather was nice. The people are one of the kindest, most respectful cultures I have ever had the pleasure of working with, full of beautiful traditions and fantastic food. Sadly, they have their issues and it wouldn't be wise to risk going there as a tourist. A real shame too, because I'd have loved to visit the resorts in Bamiyan and go skiing and snowboarding there. Probably and unfortunately, my parents' birth country Afghanistan. I've been there 3 times for a long duration and the country keeps deteriorating. The ethnic, Hazara minority, already were not safe, purely due to their race and religion. The Hazaras mainly are Shia while the ones who are killing them, the Taliban, claiming to be Sunni, But now the Taliban is also attacking the ethnic group my family is a part of, Tajiks, purely due to our race and disregard for Pashtunwali. It's depressing, but I probably won't return to Afghanistan in my life.
Iran. I'm half Iranian, but I was born and raised in Europe. I went a few times between 10 and 13 years old, and the last time I went, I started feeling the weight of being a woman. I was hanging out with my aunt in the capital. I turned my head around and my scarf fell off. I had full sleeve coverage in the middle of the summer. Immediately, the morale police circled us and asked why my head was uncovered. My aunt told them off, but that really stayed with me. It was over 15 years ago, and I can't imagine my grown adult self fearing the police because my headscarf won't stay in place. I do miss my family and I have amazing memories of visiting the historical sites, but I refuse to suppress my womanhood and self in order to be there.
Morocco? So much harassment on the street, it was equal parts frightening, annoying and exhausting. I tried to cover up and blend in but was propositioned by males from 7 to 77 years old. And I consider myself a completely average-looking woman. Throw in a bout of food poisoning and I really don't need to go back there. Yes, it's beautiful, but I'll just keep on appreciating that beauty in photos and videos, not in person.
Laos. My family is from there. My mom's side is problematic, abuse of all kinds, narcissism, etc. My dad's side went through my bags and luggage trying to steal stuff. I am sad because I'm a first-generation Asian American and I have no family in the States either, that I can count on. I have no family in my immediate family. Everything is dysfunctional. This went down a weird road. Sorry. Edit, I want to clarify that this is not a generalization of Laos as a country and Laotian people as a whole. This is specifically about my experience with my family and why I will not come back if it means seeing them again. I think this is a valid boundary to set for myself. Ukraine. I was on a tour with a friend's band. We were in a van with German plates. Less than 15 minutes across the border, we were cut off and stopped by a man who punched off our side mirror, demanding money of us, with a hook-shaped knife. I'm sure it's different now, but the wealth disparity was shocking. Not to mention, the middle of nowhere toilet, which was basically a hole in a hose. We had to bribe cops regularly.